Good afternoon and welcome to Strong at Home. I'm Dr. Brenda Murphy and I'm an educational psychologist at SailAway Learning and Academy. And our question is, so you want to homeschool? For those of you who've never even considered that before but are currently faced with that decision, we wanted to share with you our experiences, and I am so excited today to have with us part of the staff here at SailAway, and they're all popping up for you right there on the screen. I'm trying to figure out from the perspective, I guess to my left, I guess, is Bethany Wood, and Bethany is
Bethany Wood Martin. I got married.
Well, in our conversation today, it was Bethany Wood conversation. And on the lower below me is Carol Willborn, who is our current director of homeschool, and you'll want to hear what she has to say. And then next to Carol is Dawn Cooper, who is our director of marketing and communications. And today we are here not so much in our positions at SailAway, but as individuals who have had a great investment in our lives in homeschooling on many different fronts. And so I'm going to start because Bethany Martin, her homeschool experience was as Bethany Wood when I knew her as a student. So Bethany, just speaking, because at this point, there are a lot of parents that are making the decision to homeschool that are in your age group and are thinking, is this the right place? Is this the right direction for me, especially in this time and in this situation? So would you just speak to that real quickly?
I am not quite sure what you're asking me. Can you be a little more specific?
In your age group, parents who are thinking about homeschooling, because are you thinking about potentially homeschooling your children if you're having small children? Or are you thinking about your age group thinking about homeschooling your children, or are your friends thinking about homeschooling their children?
I do have a couple of friends my age who have like kindergartners or first graders, and so they're just entering into that world of homeschool. I am intending to still be working at SailAway by the time I have children, so I'm hoping that my children will attend there. But if for whatever reason life is doing a different thing, or it's not, or the perfect fit for my children is homeschool, then I will consider that for my kids. That's, probably 6 years away from me at this point. But I do have several people who are my age, who are in their 30s, who are actively homeschooling their children.
And just a follow-up question on that, were those friends homeschooled themselves, or are they new to the homeschool arena?
A couple of them were homeschooled themselves, so they feel very comfortable with that. One of them is actually a former high school English teacher who, after having taught in the public school system, decided that she didn't want that experience for her own children. And so she is now homeschooling them.
That's a very interesting perspective, Bethany, because many of the people that are making that decision, so do you want to homeschool? That's a really critical and important question for them. And on our panel, has anyone else faced that issue of having a child and deciding that maybe it was more important from what you were seeing in the school system, or just in your perspective, and had to make that decision of making a decision between a career and your child, such as Bethany's friend had? Have either one of you have that situation? Carol?
That was not my experience. I got interested in homeschooling when I was in college and planned to homeschool long before I even had children.
what was your motivation? I mean, that's really an interesting perspective because many people are not thinking about homeschooling in college, they're thinking about a career.
I had two big motivations. One was a brother, my younger brother, who is extremely, extremely intelligent, but who just did not fit a public school mode. And he struggled and had a lot of difficulty in public school, even though his intellectual abilities were out the roof. And so partly because of him and just seeing his struggle over the years and realizing there probably is something that would fit him better, but I didn't really know what it was. When I went to college, I had a homeschooler in my honors chemistry class, and I was very intrigued with her and asked her a lot of questions about her homeschool experience. I found her to be a very good student, very engaged. She was very social, and she seemed to know how to study. She seemed to know how to be self-motivated to keep herself studying. So I was very intrigued by that, and those were the things that sort of drove me to find out more about homeschooling at a time when, and this was the early and mid 80s, so there weren't a lot of people in the state of Tennessee who were homeschooling at that point, and there were not a lot of resources. But I started going to whatever conferences I could find out about it because I was really interested, even though I didn't have children until 1991.
Oh, so you were preparing well in advance. So do you think, Carol, that parents need to be have that kind of background of knowledge of having explored it, having studied homeschooling to be
I don't think so. I don't think that's necessary. I think what is necessary is for you to be convinced that you as a parent have the responsibility for the best education for your child, whatever avenue of education that is. And I don't believe homeschooling is a one-size-fits-all. But if your given situation and the children that the Lord gives you, if homeschooling is the best choice for them, then being committed to that is, I think, the most important thing. And I also think it's really, really important to understand that these things change over time. What is the best situation for your student and for your family this year? It could be totally different next year. And you have to be willing to constantly reevaluate that and look at the situation the Lord's put you in and be willing to bend and change if what you thought was the best changes and it's just not working anymore.
So I hear you saying that flexibility is important if you decide to homeschool.
I think it's very important. I think it's commitment and flexibility. You have to be committed. If you think it is the best thing, then you have to be committed to that and be willing to put in the effort and the time, because there is effort and time involved. But you also have to be willing to be flexible and be constantly looking and saying, this isn't working, seeming to work. So what could we do differently? And it could be a big, totally different change. And I know that Dawn has experienced making some of those changes midstream to accommodate what is best for her particular student.
Yeah.
Speak to that.
Yeah, that's a good segue to me.
Yeah.
My story is totally different. I always respected the homeschool moms that I knew, but I thought, never will I homeschool my children. Partly because I didn't feel confident that I could do it. And the other part was that, I just felt like for them, I wanted them to be a part of a traditional school setting. So we chose with our children to send them to a Christian private school from kindergarten on. And what migrated us over into homeschool was circumstances that, were unforeseen. One of my daughters had some medical issues, and it ended up affecting her schoolwork, and the traditional classroom just was not working for her anymore. And in looking for solutions, the headmaster at her school just kind of said, we're at our limit of what we can really provide for her. And he just really felt like he had a background, of course, in education, and I believe some psychology and some things like that. And so he felt like, from a developmental standpoint and the things that she needed, that the homeschool uh, education would be a better situation for her, that we could really deal with the things that she needed and address what she needed. And really, that's what you want for your children. You want, like Carol said, you want the best education for your children. So, and that's not always the same for every child. And so we were kind of, it was at the end of a school year, so it was like a quick transition, and I immediately found myself at some homeschool a conference here locally, just to try to acclimate myself really quickly with what exactly is homeschooling. And so I just kind of jumped in the deep end of the pool, basically, and started. So and there's so much out there. There's so much help. So there's so many experienced parents and families. The big thing is that I had to divorce myself from was the idea that homeschool looked like a traditional classroom. That's the hardest thing, I think, if you've had your children in a public school setting or a private school setting, a traditional school setting, that homeschool does not have to look like that. It does not have to operate the same way. Education is not how we have necessarily been trained to think that it is. It can happen. It can happen anywhere and in lots of different ways. So once I let go of my, preconceived ideas, it became a lot easier. And then the big challenge was trying to choose from the myriad of things that are out there as far as curriculum or styles of education. And really, I think for us, the number one thing that I found helpful was really to give myself permission to explore. And so we kind of did an eclectic thing with our homeschooling, where whatever would work. And part of that was because of my specific child's needs, but I did that with my other child came into homeschooling later, just because of the need to reduce financial drain on us, because I couldn't work and homeschool, and some parents do. So it has to do with your circumstance and your child. But so we chose to take my other daughter out of her private school setting and put her into homeschool as well. So, and they were totally different. So that was another challenge. But each challenge, there was always help. There was always SailAway was a great help to me, because before I worked at SailAway, I was a SailAway client. So Brenda was great help getting information about my child that had specific needs, was a great help with assessments and things. So there's lots of resources out there. So I would say the number one thing is don't be scared and allow yourself to learn as you go along. For so many parents right now that are making this decision kind of on the spur of the circumstances going on in the world today, I'd say don't be scared. You are equipped to educate your child, and you can be more well equipped by taking advantage of all the resources that are available today. and I'm rambling, so I'll stop and let somebody redirect.
That's so good.
Good, excellent points. And what I've heard is from you, Dawn, is that you just jump in, that you just, you get on the high dive and you just jump in when you need to. So also, it just seems that there is a very wide variety of homeschooling. So you want to homeschool. If you have that commitment and you think that that's best for your child and for your family, what I'm hearing from all of you is take a chance, jump in and do it. It's like anything else. You can always do something different. And it's at our time, and Bethany, we'll come back for some more information from you. And I realized I didn't share my story at all. So I guess we're going to have to come back, because if you want to homeschool, it's important to hear a lot of people's stories, because it may be one that will give you the encouragement to move forward. And at the same time, there may be someone who gives you the encouragement to stay the course that you've been on, and that this may not be the best choice for you now. It's up to you. May the Lord bless you as you make that choice and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance to you and give you peace. Peace to all of you, and we'll talk again. We'll continue our conversation. Thank you.